So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the new Moto G Stylus. And this is currently $299. Now this is going to be very similar to the Moto G Power, except with a little bit smaller battery. And obviously by the name, this one actually comes with a built-in stylus. Now this has a 48 megapixel triple camera system. They advertise you get up to 2 days battery life with their 4000 milliamp hour battery, 6.4 inch max vision display with a resolution of 2300 by 1080 with 399 ppi. Screen to body ratio on this one is 89%. It is an IPS panel and just a little bit over 19:9 aspect ratio. And this does have 128 gigabytes of storage. It comes with Android 10 with dual speakers tuned by Dolby, Snapdragon 665 processor, and you get up to 512 gigabytes of storage using the micro SD card and 4 gigabytes of RAM. And the fingerprint scanner on this one is on the back, right where the Moto logo is. You do get a 10-watt rapid charger with this one. It weighs in at 192 grams. It's not waterproof, but they do say water repellent. It only comes in one color that I know of, which is Mystic Indigo. The rear camera is a 48 megapixel sensor. Then it's got a 16 megapixel front camera. Good news is this one does have a headphone jack. It has Bluetooth 5.0, dual band Wi-Fi, so you're going to get 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. Now this is the unlocked version, so you'll definitely want to look online to make sure it has the bands for your network. Now I paid $299 for this, but I will leave a link in the description below with current pricing and more information. You do get USB-C charging and a decent length cable that comes with it. Here's your 10-watt charging brick, and they call this rapid charging, but we'll definitely have to test that to see how long it takes. Okay, so this definitely has a little bit of thickness and weight to it. You're definitely not going to get much shinier than this one. And you can see all the cameras there on the back, which looks pretty nice actually. On the right hand side is your power and volume buttons. The power button on this one actually has some really nice texture. Punch hole camera there on the front, up in the left hand corner. You can see it's also got a speaker right there near the earpiece. On the left is where your SIM card and micro SD card go. Fingerprint scanner right in the center there on the back, where the Moto logo is. Your other speakers there on the bottom, right next to the charging port. The built-in stylus is hidden away there in the corner. Now for some reason this feels like it has a little bit of weight to it compared to an S Pen. Now this is using a little over 17 gigabytes of the 128 gigabytes available. So if you're upgrading from an older Android phone, they do give you some quick tips on how to navigate using gestures. To go home, you just swipe up from the bottom. To see recent apps, you just swipe up from the bottom of the screen and hold. To go to the last screen, you just swipe towards the middle from the left or right edge. To switch between apps, you swipe left or right at the bottom of the screen. For the launch assistant, you just swipe up diagonally from the bottom of the screen. Now if you say, well, I prefer the 3-button layout, you can go into settings and choose that as well. Now when you take out the stylus, you will get some shortcuts to certain apps. You'll get these apps that pop up here on the side to let you know which apps work with the stylus. And you can also go into the settings to customize that as well. When the stylus is removed, you can also decide what the phone does, show shortcuts, launch an app, or just show nothing. And it keeps an icon there, sort of faded in the background, in case you want to bring up those shortcuts again. The nice thing is you can also do a screen capture right from the shortcuts. The stylus is definitely heavier than the S Pen from Samsung. It actually feels a little bit smaller to use. I was curious to see if the S Pen would work on this phone, and no such luck. But the good thing is, if you have a capacitive stylus laying around, you could always use one of those if you had to. Now besides the always-on display, they pack in a ton of features for this device. Besides what's new for Android 10, They still have all the Moto actions that most people are going to want to use from time to time, such as quick capture, fast flashlight, 3-finger screenshot, flip for do not disturb, and pick up to silence. You can also swipe to shrink the screen for one-handed use. And if that's not enough, you can go into settings to customize what gestures do, from swiping the fingerprint scanner for notifications to twisting your wrist to open the camera app. There's even a Moto Game Time where you can quickly access tools and settings on the screen to enhance your gaming experience. Now let me give you a quick video clip so you can hear what the speakers on this device sound like. In person, these speakers are plenty loud enough, and I love that they didn't just place these both on the bottom like a lot of other manufacturers do, so it makes things sound just that much better. Which I kind of had a feeling on the Lenovo tablets. For whatever reason, I don't think they get those certified. I'm not sure what all the details are, but yeah, it's usually standard definition on Lenovo tablets. So after running the benchmark tests, I've got to say, so if you saw my video earlier on the Moto G8 Plus, you're going to notice these look almost identical, with just a few things slightly in different positions. Although I feel the G Stylus is just a hair thicker, probably to fit that stylus in there. And it's pretty much the same display. I mean, at first glance, they're pretty much the same device. Originally, I thought the G Stylus felt pretty thick, but when compared to the Moto G8 Plus, they're actually almost identical. So within the camera app, you're going to get a lot of different options. Some of these I don't even have in my OnePlus 7 Pro. You're going to get portrait, cutout, macro, spot color, night vision, cinematograph, panorama, and live filter. And then for video, you also get macro, slow motion, and time lapse. And then you're going to get most of your typical stuff that you would get on other mobile phones. Then you also get HDR. You can also turn on and off the active photos. You've got auto and manual. They have an action mode where you actually hold the phone vertical, but yet the lens is horizontal, which you may have heard of in some of the other Motorola phones. And then down here to the right of the shutter button is Google Lens. Funny thing is, when I hit search for this controller, it picks it up as the Razer Wolverine Tournament Edition gaming controller for Xbox One. However, this is actually the FlyDigi Apex controller. So here I'll give you a few samples of photos and video just so you can get an idea of what they look like. And I was actually surprised, with a budget phone like this, you can get some really nice photos. So now check out this macro mode. Here is just using the regular lens, and then here's what it looks like once you switch to macro. I mean, it's crazy how much more detail you're gonna get, because with most cell phones, you can only get so close to objects. So really, I think this is something that all cell phones should have. As far as video goes, you can go up to 30 frames per second on Ultra HD for the rear camera, and then on the front, 30 frames per second on Full HD. When testing out games on this Moto G Stylus, PUBG Mobile was on the lowest graphic settings with medium frame rates, which doesn't sound that great compared to other phones and tablets I've tested. but it played pretty smooth without choppiness or any other issues. And of course I had to use my new favorite controller for that game, which I'll leave a link in the description below if you're interested. The only thing I did notice is the screen isn't quite as bright as say my OnePlus 7 Pro, but I don't think that'll be that big of a deal for most people. If you're into more fast-paced games like Call of Duty Mobile, that game plays pretty smooth on this device as well. You'll also be able to knock people out of your way while racing down the freeway on games like Asphalt 9 without any issues. So if you want a budget gaming device, I would definitely recommend this phone for that. Now I also did a battery drain test where I had the screen brightness at 100%, streaming video continuously. And I gotta say, this is probably one of the best devices I've seen as far as battery life goes. It took almost 7 hours just to drain this thing down to 50%. I mean, I've got tablets with bigger batteries that don't even last that long. It lasted over 11 hours before finally dying. And then to charge the phone back up, then it took a little over 2 hours to charge the device back up from 0 to 100%. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with how many features and the performance you get with this new stylus version from Motorola. And I feel like this has to be one of the best budget phones coming out this year, especially if you don't need the stylus. You can save 50 bucks with the Moto G Power, and Motorola will even throw in a bigger battery. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.